Hey there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to lesson 8.7. 8.7 is the next factoring thing for us. We are going to be looking at different types of quadratics that are in this form, the form ax squared plus bx plus c. And of course, these could be pluses or minuses. That doesn't really matter so much. The big difference about today's lesson than from lesson 8.6 is that we're talking about a number that is in front of our leading coefficient, so there's now an a. So there's going to be some value of some kind here. So that's going to change our process a little bit as to how we solve things. So here is the process. You are probably going to want to write these things down. So first things first, you're going to want to make sure that they are in the correct form. So if they are not in this order, x squared, then something x, then a regular number equals 0. You're going to maneuver things around by adding or subtracting to make that happen. Step 2, which I think is one of the most important things that gets overlooked, is to factor out a GCF if possible. Now, it's not always possible, but I think sometimes we forget that that's our first step. Step 3 is to set up the t-chart. Now, the difference with this t-chart is that we have we're not looking what multiplies to make the last one and adds to make the middle. We're looking as A times C. So what are the things that multiply to make A times C? So the factors of AC, and what adds to make B. So it's a little bit different. So then we have, that's step 4. And then step 5 is to factor by grouping. So if there are, then there will be 4 terms for us to make this happen. All right. So let's do our first example. So we're first going to look at, is there a number I can divide out of all 3? Because this is 27, there is not. Next we look at 5 times 10, which is 50. So I'm making my t-chart, and we're trying to find numbers that multiply to make a 50, a positive 50, and add to make a 27. Now right off the bat I'm thinking 50 and 1, no. 2 and 25, yes. So now I have a 2 and a 25. Those things add to make a 27. So I know that's my ticket right there. So what we're going to have is we're going to trade out. I'm going to rewrite this first. We're going to trade out this 27x with my new numbers. So this gets crossed out and it becomes, we have our 5x squared plus our 25x's plus 2x's and plus 10. So I traded out these numbers right here for the 27x. So I just broke those into the two numbers that they add to become. And you'll notice that I put these things in a nice order so they could be easily grouped together. So I can do my factor by grouping. Now I'm going to take things out. So things that I can take out or of a GCF or a 5x squared and a 25x would be a 5 and an x. When I do that, I'm left over with an x plus 5. Now my goal is that I'm going to end up with another x plus 5 when I factor out of this one. So I factor out a 2 on this one because that's the GCF that I can take out. So I'm left with a x plus 5 again. Now because 5x and 2 are both being multiplied by an x plus 5, those two combine together to make my 5x plus 2. And then these numbers were the same, so they'd bring down to make just one of them, x plus 5. Now this is my factoring of that first problem. Now if it said to solve, it would say equals 0, and we do all that other stuff. Now see, maybe you want to try this one without me first. Hit pause, see if you can beat me done. I guess anybody can beat me done if you hit pause. That's kind of a cheating violation. Okay, all right, so here we go. Same process. It's in the correct form. Now we're going to look for a GCF. Is there a number we can divide out of all 3 of these things? Now I see a 4. So I'm going to take out a 4. Hold on, we have to pause for you. So sorry, I paused real quick. I divide out a 4, and when I divide out a 4, I am left with an x squared plus 6x plus 8. And now this looks more like what we did last time. So I'm going to factor my x squared plus 6x plus 8. And now you have to remember that I have a 4 on the outside of it. So this looks like we did an 8-6. We're looking for things that multiply to make an 8 and add together to make a 2. I'm sorry, a 6. So we're looking for those things on my T-chart that I did quickly in my head here. I got what multiplies to make an 8, adds to make a 6. I instantly see a 4 and a 2. Hopefully that's something that you can recognize really easily as well, because these are both positives. So I'm left over with an x plus 4 and an x plus 2, and all on the outside was that 4. So then this is my answer. Now it's nice when we divide out the a so that we don't have to worry about trying to use that extra step and do that dividing by grouping stuff, or factoring by grouping. All right, step 3 here. See again if you can do this one without me. You're looking to see, is there a number you can divide out of all 3 of them? I don't see one, so we're now going to look at 24 times 3. I believe that's 72. I'm going to double check.
Gardner, please come to the office.
Just to make sure I got a 72. And so what we're asking ourselves, what multiplies to make a 72 and adds to make a negative 22? Now, because we know that we're going to be adding to make a negative, I know that I'm going to end up with some negative stuff here. So multiplies to make a 72. I'm going to do 72 divided by 12. 12 and 6, no. 72 divided by 8. 8, 9, 17, no. 72 divided by another number. So we're just guessing stuff here, folks, to be honest with you. And while I'm guessing, we hit pause for a second. I got someone at the door again. Whew. All right, well, I'm getting interrupted a lot today. All right, so then I've guessed and checked and found out that we have an 18 and a 4. So we have a negative 4 and a negative 18 that are going to make this happen for us. So instead of me writing down this negative 22, I am going to write down those two numbers. So I have a 24x to the second. I have a minus 18x and a minus 4x, and then plus 3. So what we do is we're going to factor by grouping. These two go nicely together, and then these ones go nicely together for my eyes. So I'm going to write them again. I have 24x to the second plus 3 is one of my groups. And I have a minus 18x and a minus 4x in my other group. All right, so we're going to factor things out. We're going to be left over after I take out my 3 here. Let's see. If I factor out a 3, I'm going to be left with an x squared. That's not good. I can't group those together. I should probably, let's rewind here. I did a bad job grouping, folks. That's what you're seeing right now. You're seeing me showing you what it looks like to do a bad job of grouping. So we're going to factor not the 3 with that, because we need to get this x squared to go down. So I have a 4 and then a plus 3. I should group together these two, and then these two will go together. So I have a 24x squared, and I was in purple, minus 4x, and then I have my negative 18x and my plus 3. Now what just happened there, folks, is I was trying to get rid of this so it's not an x squared anymore. I didn't have an x with it, so that kind of screwed things up. And now we can factor things out. So I can take out a 4 and an x, and we're going to be left over with a 6x and then a minus 1. Over here we're looking for that same 6x minus 1, so we're going to have to divide out a negative 3, and we're going to be left with a 6x minus 1. So that gets us these two things to make our new group, a 4x minus 3 and a 6x minus 1. So that's my official answer, and we're on to the next topic. All right, so the next one is prime polynomials. When you go through this whole tree chart and you find out that you can't find two numbers that work, the answer is prime. Now the thing that most people do is they get to a prime too quickly. You gotta check all of them. You would literally want to write down all the factors for 72 and check to see if there's any possible way for them to add together to make the middle terms. If there's not, then it is prime. You really want to exhaust all possible options. Here's an example of one that's prime. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave you now with this one to try by yourself, and we'll talk about it first for class tomorrow. So we have a 3x plus 26x plus 35. You're going to multiply your a times c stuff and see what you can get to make 105. And then we're also going to do this one in class. And we don't even need to show you much of it. We'll just do that one together entirely. But see if you can get this one done without me, and then we'll be able to check it out for you guys. All right, this is the Berman Nation. We're signing off, folks.